Welcome everyone. Today we are doing a brake rebuild on the Rotora Brakes. Now the reason why we're rebuilding these calipers is internally, as you guys are going to see, the dust seals kind of all melted, they're kind of bad. And then at the end of a season, especially with racing, so if you're tracking your car fairly a lot, you're going to want to rebuild the internals or the rubber gaskets inside. Fairly easy process. The first thing you want to do, just clean your caliper. It's probably filthy. Get your can of brake clean, respirator, a nice open area, so that way you're not inhaling all that stuff, and your safety goggles as well. It's not the best stuff to inhale, but yeah, we're gonna clean up this rotor a little bit. You guys don't have to see me do that process, but it's gonna be clean. I'm still gonna use this. I'm not gonna go with a super detailed clean, but that way when I handle it, it's not like contaminating things. Alright, so after you've cleaned it, I'm pretty happy with this. It's not perfect, it's not a show car. It's definitely going to get tracked again in a month. And I know there's just going to be a buildup of brake dust, so I don't have to get into every nook and cranny. But again, you want majority of the insides clean, you want your outsides clean to where you're happy with. And if you want to get a nice like toothbrush and get in here to the finer cracks and crevices, you're more than welcome to. But I know these are just going to get filthy again. But now what we're going to do is we're going to remove these outer dust boots. Now, the back side looked to be perfectly intact, and the front side looked to be a little melted down. So we're going to go ahead and take those out. I like to use these little hooks mechanisms. Now, there are little cutouts in the caliper to extracting or removing these. So it should make it fairly easy. I'm trying to do it in a manner where the camera can see what I'm doing. But you want to get in there. And you don't want to like gouge the metal. I'm going to do it facing towards me, but you just wedge it up, and then from there you should be able to pull it out. Just like so. A little easier when they're torn apart to pull them out because they're just kind of in pieces. And this same process is done with the rear, just 4 pistons versus 6, so a little less work. This side's a little, there we go. Rubber stayed in the piston, which is okay, that's going to come out later. Now we're going to go to the other side. Talking like Pac-Man. So what we're going to do next is, you need a piece of wood. 2x4 works great, cut so it'll fit in the caliper. And you also need some compressed air. Important to have one of these nozzles. Never put your finger on it and pull the trigger, obviously, but not the one that you hook up to your tire. You're going to very slowly trigger the air pressure, so that way the pistons all sort of come out at the same time. You don't want to do just one big blast because this port is directed to just the middle one. You're just going to shoot out the middle one and you're not going to get all 6 of them. So you want even pressure. Just kind of hold that balance. Mine isn't wide enough for an actual 2x4. This is a slit, so it doesn't quite balance in there just well. Never put your fingers inside. Terrible idea. I keep my fingers right on top just to hold that piece of wood in place, and then I'm just very slowly gonna pull that trigger. I already see 2. Whoop, so that middle one came shooting out. That's where that resistance is. So I've got 3 sort of out. I gotta get this side out now. I got 4, 5. So let me show you guys what's happening right now. So here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to get this one here So now we've got a good contact patch. Again, what I'm doing is just holding the top so it doesn't fall over. And we got to get this last one connected out. If they don't come all out, you've got to push them all in and redo this process. There we go. Looks like I've almost got them out. I want these back ones out just a little more, so I'm pushing these back in. I'm pushing down and backwards at the same time. Okay, that looks fairly good there. And again, they should be fairly simple to pull out, just like that. Now when you do pull them out, you're probably going to get debris on down below from any chunks or the rubber. I'm going to put out another towel and place these on and clean everything up. Oh no, I just pushed one in. Oh. That was an accident. So because I accidentally pushed that one in, I got to put this guy back in and do this all over again. But I don't have to push all of them in, just there we are. That's where you got to be careful, especially if you're trying to show somebody or the camera something. I don't know if you saw that, but I accidentally pushed that guy in. I might be able to pull it out. I'm going to use the rubber seal that's around it so I don't score it. See if I can help guide this out. Yeah, I think so. That's a little tricky. Get our other one that's straight. Ow. Little wiggle. There we go. Still some brake fluid inside. That's perfectly normal. Give it a little wiggle, and they should just pop out. Again, I'm using this in the groove while I wiggle, just to pop those out. And we do have a little bit of brake fluid in, which is okay. Gonna rotate this, so I'm pulling towards me, make it a little easier for me. Yeah. World of difference. Now the last one, because it is directly behind that port, you could, in theory, just there it is. Pop it out like that, if you don't want to have to deal with pulling it. Use your wood. Alright, so now we're going to begin the cleaning process again, but before we do, we're going to extract the old rubber seals out. They are in here. They're pretty easy to get out. Again, you've got to use your hook. Just very delicately get behind that rubber seal. You don't want to score the caliper. And they come right out. Super easy. Again, because you're replacing these, it's okay if you stab the rubber part or silicone, but you don't want to stab your housing. Alright, all the seals are out, dust boots are out, pistons are out. It's time to clean the caliper again. Some brake fluid came out while I was doing this. I'll put my respirator on. I am going to use some brake clean inside, but I'm going to allow enough time for it to evaporate and dry out. By the time we're putting in new stuff, it's not going to be an issue. Of course, wipe away any excess as much as you can, and we're just trying to clean up these pistons because there's just a little rubber residue left behind, and there's some pickups, and you just want to try and clean everything up as best you can because it's a rebuild, right? go. Okay. Alright, so caliper is cleaned. The pistons, internals are clean. There's no rubber residue. There's nothing inside. I'm gonna lay a shop towel over so nothing falls in and contaminates it as I clean the pistons next. So again, these are all the old ones. These can go in the trash. If you want to inspect them, you can, but you have new ones anyways. I didn't see any scores on the actual pistons, or, well, I haven't looked at the pistons yet, or the piston chambers, I should say. We're going to take a look at the pistons right now, make sure those are all good. The previous set I just did on the passenger side was perfect. So yeah, if you do have a little bit of these left over still on it, they're fairly easy to take off. It's just a little piece of silicone that flips right over that lip. Off it goes. So checking to see if any others have that. If not, we're going to begin the cleaning process again. Brake clean. I'm going to use a respiratory device. So now it's time for reassembly. Now what I like to do is make sure I have clean gloves on. Most of your products they should be fairly clean. Still gonna wear safety goggles because you never know. Going with green. I've got a long one and a short one. OCD much, right? Anyways, so I'm gonna put a new towel there. Organize these. And then you also want a little bit of brake fluid. So I'm using Motul 600 just for this purpose, but actually in the car I'm gonna use Motul 660. Last time around I used Castrol SRF fluid. Couldn't find that available anymore, so going with the next best one. No advertising there, it's just what I'm using because people ask. So a little bit of brake fluid, and that's for the seals. And what we're going to do next is we're going to be putting the seals into the caliper. So two ways to do this. You can do it wet or you can do it dry. If you do it dry, you're going to be dipping your finger after you put the seal in and lubing it all up. If you do it wet, start off with the large one. You're going to dip it into your brake fluid and then insert it. So, doing it wet there, nice and moist. Find your column, your little groove in there, and you're just going to carefully push it into the groove. I can do it without looking. It's just the feel of the little snap. There it is. Do the next size. So there are 3 sizes. So one size usually only fits in one spot. This one won't fit in the smallest, and if you try to put it in the largest one, it should just fall out. So make sure to keep track of your order of things. It's the medium size. Too far. Don't want to go all the way in the back. That would be very difficult to get out. The reason for lubing these is when you put it in, it's a lot easier. Get a nice good seal going on. What you will be doing next is putting your dust boots on top. If I can get it, my hands are still a little slippery. This side is old. There we go. A stubborn one. Getting your dust boots on top of your pistons. Alright, so when you put this in, I like to do the letter side down first. The port is up. That's the last one I'm going to personally do. Makes it easier. And again, you can see right there, it goes right through. That's kind of why that last one, there's no air resistance. It just pops right out. There are little ports in between each one, but it just, what I found, makes it easier. Now, when you do this, I'm going to go smallest first. You don't have to on this side. I'm also going to put a little bit of brake fluid all the way around piston to aid in some lubrication. Gonna just visually check that everything is in there, put my finger in, make sure everything is seated correctly on all three. Pops in just like that. There should be some resistance as you're going to push down, sometimes firmly, and then just you'll feel that slide. Because what's happening right now is you're kind of overcoming the air pressure, and they're going through such a tiny little port. Alright, next size. Get a little brake fluid. Lubricate. Quick check before. Okay. There it is. In. And then as you push it all the way in, if I didn't say it, you're also going to push in your dust boot into the seal where it goes, or the little, not seal, but cutout for it. Next up, we've got our large guy. If you notice, I'm going in the sequence that goes up to this port. Something to note, so that way, least resistance, or least travel of air escaping. That one went in a hurry. Now, the middle one. Release resistance. There we go. Perfect. So at the very end, make sure everything is seated. I just go by with some brake fluid, not brake fluid, brake clean. Any brake fluid that came off your hands, or when you turned it upside down. Granted, I know my caliper has seen better days when it was brand new, but it gets a lot of use. And that, my friends, is how you rebuild a Rotora caliper. Very similar to even the Brembo kits. Obviously part numbers are going to be different. I can link those down below. And if you want to know how to install these brakes, I've made a video of that as well. You can check that one out. I'll leave that in my description as well. As for removing and installing, same process, just reversed. At the same token, what I did, I also got my rotors resurfaced. So grooves are still there. I'm still within clearance. Just a hair because I did go metal to metal. But yeah, we're gonna put this back together, bleed the brakes, be good to go. You guys don't need to see that, because I already have a video on that. And I'll see you next time, next track day, Button Willow. I'll see you guys there.